Well, let's start with the day's market action. The recovery continued on the Lal Street. Positive global cues did boost sentiment once again. The Sensex gained over 500 points and the Nifty jumped by nearly 200 points. Mid-caps did outperform the blue chips. The Nifty Bank Index gained nearly 400 points, with PSU banks leading the charge. Prashant joins us now to wrap up the market action for us. Prashant, global cues are certainly added to the fuel in our markets and finally closing up, and quite nicely so.
Strong session overall, nothing to complain after the strong handoff that we got from Wall Street. It's been very volatile. Global markets 2% up, 2% down, and then last night, of course, out of the US, you had another 2.5% higher move, but good close. The star of the session really was the PSU Bank Index, which now this week is up 8%. Names like PNB, SBI, Canara Bank, Indian Bank, you name it. That was really the flavor of today's session. But apart from PSU banks, media as a space did well. Z, of course, is a big contributor. Real estate, which has been coming off last few sessions, picked up pace, and the consumer index did quite well. SBI, naturally, on the Nifty was the top gainer. There were Adani Ports, Eicher, Nestle, ITC. As I said, consumer has come back into flavor. Reliance participated as well, and I think that it was a big constituent, big help for the broader index. Broader markets, even better as compared to the Nifty. Defense as a space has been doing well. There's a Defense Expo which is going on as well. HAL, BHEL, data patterns, a few. TVS Motor did well. You had Polycab, Adani Wilmar, Adani Transmission. The recent listing, Electronic Smart, is at a new high. Gujarat Alkali, NHPC, Phoenix. I can go on, but just highlighting the big volume-led movers that we had. The Nifty has closed exactly at the 50-day moving average, a simple 50-day average, and I think that becomes the first stop, the first level to really conclusively take out when we return tomorrow. There is no important data out of the US which could kind of, throw a spoke in the wheel. So hopefully the market in the US may continue to do well, which provides additional tailwind to the market here, which in any case has been doing relatively better. And I think markets will also closely watch central bank action in the UK, whether they, as the Financial Times reported during the Asia session today, whether they are actually postponing the quantitative tightening program, not just because it's important for UK, but as a cue of what may possibly happen around the world later this year. Back to you.
All right, Prashant, many thanks for joining us. Decisions taken by the Cabinet, some relief coming in for farmers. The Union Cabinet has approved a hike in the minimum support price for all Rabi crops between 3 to 9% for the 2023-2024 marketing season. The MSP for lentil has been increased by 500 rupees per quintal, making it the highest increase among the 6 crops, while MSP for wheat, which accounts for 70% of the Rabi crops, has been hiked by 110 rupees a quintal. Manisha joins us now to break down the details for us. Manisha, what will this mean for the agri-economy and for farmers?
Well, yes, the MSP price increase has been between 3 to 9% and slightly delayed, by the way, because in last couple of years, we saw it being announced in the month of September. This time, it has been around mid-October when we finally have the MSP announcements coming from the government. And as you can see on that table stuck up for you, the least of MSP increase has been in chana, just about at 2%. This is because the government has enough buffer stock when it comes to chana. The max within pulses clearly has been for masoor, where the government does not have a buffer stock, and we have seen lower production as well. In the other food grain commodities, wheat at 5.5% was anticipated, and in any case, 70% is wheat of the food grains that is produced within the Rabi season there. And then you have edible oils, wherein mustard is looking at an MSP increase of nearly 8%. Remember, 50 to 60% of our edible oil requirement is imported, and the government has been talking about self-reliance in case of edible oil. So mustard at around nearly 8% of an increase in MSP does not come in as a surprise there. Safflower increase of 3.8% doesn't really move much, because there's a very limited, less quantity of safflower that India really produces. And then you have barley at around 6%. As I said, the markets were almost anticipating it there. The CSEP had recommended a 3 to 9% of an increase in Rabi MSP, and that's exactly what we are seeing here. The farmers with the Kharif MSP hike were not very happy. They have been talking about higher input costs, whether it has been about seed, steel, fertilizer, pesticides, transportation, labor, everything has been on a hike, and they wanted the MSP rate hike to incorporate all of these rises there. Chana is the largest Rabi public crop there, Rabi crop there, and we haven't seen much of an increase onto that one. The initial reactions on Chana are also not so great coming in from the farmers. Chana could be losing out to other Rabi crops is what the street tells us. So that is something you'll need to watch out for. But having said that, at between 3 to 9% of CSEP recommendation, and what we've finally seen is pretty much what the street expected.
All right, Manisha, many thanks for joining us. Inflation continues to pinch rural India harder than urban areas. FMCG sales have dropped 14% in September. Companies like Dabur, Marico and V-Mart say entry-level products are seeing a decline in volume across all categories.
Yeah, so below 10 rupee price point contributes to almost more than 65-70% to our portfolio. And that's quite significant. And definitely from rural market, we've seen that this is sort of slowed down, particularly in September. Actually, we've seen fantastic June, July and August. But September seems to have slowed down. So that's only a bit of concern.
Well, inflation there causing some hiccups as far as FMCG sales are concerned in rural India. In corporate news, shares of Z Entertainment surging after Invesco offloaded 5.5% of its stake in the company via a block deal. Now, post the block deal, Invesco holds a little over 4.6% stake and is the second largest shareholder after LIC. The stake sale comes ahead of the Z-Sony merger. There is a 180-day lock-in period for Invesco on a further stake sale. In the telecom space, the government has decided to extend the deadline for the submission of comments on the draft Telecom Bill 2022 from the 20th of October to the 30th of October. The extension comes after the department received requests from several stakeholders and industry associations. Remember, the current draft has sparked controversy over the expansion of telecommunications services to bring OTT platforms under its mandate and has also raised other data privacy concerns. Leading defence equipment manufacturers have gathered in Gujarat's Gandhinagar for the 12th edition of the Defence Expo. More than 1,300 Indian companies showcasing their products and innovations in the 5-day exhibition. Over 450 agreements are expected to be signed this time, which is almost double than the last edition.
This is a 5-day program where the initial 3 days are going to be business specific and the rest 2 days will be open for public. As of now, Indian companies are taking part in this particular event, and we have been told that more than 1,000 plus companies are going to take part. On the very first day, we have bilateral talks with Africa, and not just Africa, but Indian Ocean region countries are also taking part in this particular event. Tomorrow, on 19th of October, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be a part of this event, and on a daily basis, we are going to see drone shows at the riverfront of Sabarmati. We are focusing on our indigenous platforms, and that's the reason why we have seen in number of months in the past that we have developed our own Tejas, we have developed our own Prachand, and a lot many indigenous platforms that have been launched in the recent months.
Mark II is not a Tejas, it is a new aircraft by design itself. It has a capabilities in terms of weapon carrying capabilities of 6.5 tons, whereas Mark I has got only 3.5 tons. This aircraft will be replacing all the existing Mirage 2000, Jaguar and MiG-29 aircraft in the Indian squadrons. And we will be having a rollout of this aircraft in the next year. 2023 will be, end of the 2023 will be rolling out this aircraft.
Well, day one of the Defence Expo. UK's new Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt has tossed out all the tax cut presented by the Liz Truss government's mini-budget last month. That's not all. He's also proposed to redraw the scheme to cap household energy bills for 2 years. Hunt says that post-April, the scheme would target only the most vulnerable sections. Interestingly, the U-turn by the Liz Truss government on tax plans are similar to the plans that were laid out by Rishi Sunak, who lost out to Truss in the Tory leadership battle. Sanjay Suri wraps up all the action from London. Sanjay.
There's an expression we hear again and again these days in media, in politics. It's the expression screeching U-turn to describe what Liz Truss began to do, and that is now being undone. And that was undone right across the board on Monday, after the undoing bit by bit earlier. And nobody is missing the underlying fact here that Liz Truss has been turning away from her own policies, of course, that we see, but she is turning more and more to adopt those of Rishi Sunak. This is what everyone is saying, even if the Conservative Party leaders and the Truss government obviously is not saying it. And she is doing this without acknowledging this. These U-turns she's been making are not over some minor policy issues. These are over tax cuts, and those defined her whole campaign for the post of PM. They were at the heart of the debate with Rishi Sunak. And this debate was repeated at hustings after hustings. Rishi Sunak had argued all through that these tax cuts as proposed by Truss would be ruinous. He had argued that children and grandchildren would have to pay off the debt that these would bring on, but there perhaps he may have made an error. The boomerang did not need generations. It came in days and ended in 3 weeks.
Sanjay Suri, many thanks for joining us. A U-turn and more U-turns coming in there by the UK government. Jeremy Hunt undoing the tax cuts that had been brought in by Liz Truss. But coming up, 2 out of the 3 CEOs in India bracing for a global recession in the next 12 months. We speak with the CEO of KPMG in India about the KPMG CEO survey when we return.